Welcome again to Breakfast Central. President Bola Tinubu yesterday suspended the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Betta Edu, following controversy over financial transactions she authorized in her ministry. The suspension, according to a statement by the presidential spokesperson, Ajuri Ngelale, is with immediate effect.
The minister has come under criticism from Nigerians for ordering the transfer of 585.2 million naira into the private bank account of a civil servant who is the accountant in charge of grants for vulnerable Nigerians. According to Mr. Ngelale's statement, the suspension is in line with the president's avowed commitment to upholding the highest standards of integrity, transparency, and accountability in the management of the commonwealth of Nigerians.
Now, the president also further directs the executive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, to conduct a thorough investigation into all aspects of the financial transactions involving the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, as well as one of other agencies on there. Our guest this morning is Mukhtar Moibbo. He's the Secretary General, Followthemoney International, and he joins us live from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Good morning, Mr. Moibbo. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
We hear the FCT is having security challenges, so we hope that you, of course, you stay safe. You know, some of these things come to an end very soon. But now let's talk about Betta Edu and the president's order to the EFCC to investigate this situation. Tell us what your thoughts are concerning, you know, the order for an investigation and, you know, all of the, you know, events in the last couple of days.
All right. So first of all, I think it's a sad reality for us that we're seeing this because, you know, as someone that has been advocating for women and youth inclusion, it has always been a thing for us to see women being part of government. But I mean, for us today, we've seen some track records playing on from Dizania Listen Madoke to Sadia Farouk, as well as now Betta Edu. You know, women being part of scandals as well as corruption issues. So for me, I will say it's a sad reality, but what I will advise each and every one of us is to wait for the investigation to unfold and let's see what really transpired. But what the minister did, as well as the CEO of the agency that is under the minister, is illegal and is something to, is condemnable, you know, for us as Nigerians as well as taxpayers.
Is it something to look at? I mean, you've mentioned that you're someone who advocates for more women and young people to be involved in politics. But we've seen scenarios before now. There have been men who have, of course, come under fire. Several men who have not been investigated till date. So is it really a question about her gender or the fact or that she's young? Should that really be the key focus here? As some would argue that there are men. Most people who are involved in politics are men. And a number of them have come under fire for committing offenses or crimes till today. They've not been brought before a court of competent jurisdiction.
You know, it's not about gender. Corruption affects each and every one of us. And for us to understand that this is affecting us, this money is meant for vulnerable people. Anybody that has a misconduct on the act of, you know, vulnerable people should be dealt with. It's not about being a man or a woman, you know. So why I mention the issue of gender is because, you know, over time we've not been seeing women being part of government. And now we've been advocating for them to be part of government, and some part of them are messing up. You know, for a woman like Betta Edu, like Dizania Listen Madoke and others, all they are meant to show is the competency of women, the capability of women, the capacity of women, not show the otherwise, right? So that's why I brought the issue. For other people that are not facing the court of competent jurisdiction for what they did, I think is something we all need to cry about, because the system is favoring others and is not favoring other people. And what the system is meant to do is to favor everybody. But for me, I am not here to talk about just the problem. I think we need to go back and look at legitimacy of how we employ this kind of people. Why don't we put ministers a call for ministers. Let's look at competent people. Let's look at people that are smart and mobile that will do this. I am not a Christian, but I know what is being done in the Catholic Church. If you are getting married, you know, everything will be placed, and if you have anything against that, come out and speak up or something. We can do something like that for governance. It's not bad, because that is what will bring the best of the best. Because what we have now, we have the best and we send the worst.
Yeah, well, that's a whole different conversation, and of course a person's clean history doesn't mean that they will not eventually get their fingers soiled. But here's the problem, and this is what I was asking to our previous guest. The fact that we're seeing a situation where a memo was leaked, and that means that there's a possibility that there have been hundreds or thousands of other memos similar to this one that weren't leaked, that got approval from the ministries and departments and agencies across the country. So the challenge that we have with this particular one now is that it was leaked. So is there any comfort in the fact that the president has asked the EFCC, probe this situation? Does it scare you, the amount of money that maybe has also been diverted through personal accounts in the past that didn't have their memos leaked? And are we going to convince ourselves that we're fighting corruption simply because of this particular case?
All right, so first of all, I want you to know that there was an undermining issue of responsibility. The minister don't raise memo. The minister review and approve memos, right? We've got the director of finance, we've got the permanent secretary, and all these people are the people that do this particular thing. A letter was sent to the Accountant General office that is ought to not has happened, because that is a program, that is a project. The project is self-accounted. All they needed to do is to do that, follow the procedures. And just so you know, it's illegal for that amount of money to be sent to a staff of that agency. So what am I trying to say? Everything that was done was illegal, one. And some people were undermined. Before you be a permanent secretary, you must have gone through a lot of rigorous trainings and experience over years, at least 20 to 25 years, right? So the minister might have undermined a lot of people. And what I want you to understand is, this will not say that we're fighting corruption, because it's not just one person. What will determine whether or not we're fighting corruption is if we fight the corruption to the final bid. That is to say, the report, the investigation was conducted, and then the report is out for public. Punishment has been done to other people that are not just Betta Edu, and then other cases that are in the court of law. You cannot decide what the court think, right? But you have to know, see it to the public that this has happened and punishment has been carried along.
Do you genuinely believe that what you have just described will play out in Nigeria? Do you genuinely believe that this will happen in this case, as well as others who have been involved in corruption?
To be honest, I have doubt in it, but I am optimistic that the suspension was done and investigation was ordered. So I want to say I believe that something like this will happen. I pray it happens. And if it don't happen, one of the work we've always been doing is to advocate for things like that to happen. And we're optimistic. One day, one time, we'll see it happen.
Oh, well, I mean, advocacy is great, no doubt, but if you look back at previous events, Babachir Lawal was suspended, or if you're taken off as Secretary to Government of the Federation, because of the grass cutting scandal, if you remember. A report was eventually sent to President Muhammadu Buhari that nothing happened to. So, I mean, do we expect prosecution? Is suspension enough? Because, if you look back at, in history of these things happening, the best that Nigerians get is a suspension. That's the best that they get.
And the social media
you don't
trial.
get a proper prosecution. And I mean, if we're talking about following the money or following the history of, why these things are even possible, it means, and I'll continue to say this, it means that there are people in those offices that are culpable. There are people who have seen these things happen in the past and turned their face the other way. There are people who have seen these memos and know that there was something fraudulent about it, but they turned their face the other way. There are people who are meant to be auditing the finances of these MDAs, that have seen that there's a lot of funds that are leaking, that have turned their face the other way. So if we're not doing a total cleanup and setting up systems that will make sure that these things never happen again, then we're not achieving anything in this situation. And it will continue like this. And I once again want to ask, does it make you worried, the amount of previous monies that have been paid to personal accounts under Sadia Farouk Umar, if possible, and other people who have headed this Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs? Should this be worrisome to the average Nigerian?
I think it's worrisome to each and every one of us because, I mean, we're taxpayers' money and we only have Nigeria. The ministry have been going through a lot of scandal. Just yesterday, the immediate minister, that is Sadia Farouk, visited EFCC to clarify some sort of things, right? And now Betta will be visiting EFCC today on another scandal. And you know, the most worrisome thing is the fact that these monies are meant for vulnerable people, poor of the poor. If you look at the MBS statistic, it said some certain number of people are observing multidimensional poverty. That is to tell you that they are poor in all dimensions, right? And these are the same people that are meant to get this said amount. But I want you to understand one thing. It's not just about the scandal. The list is questionable. Who are these people? Where are they gotten from? How long will they benefit from this? Nobody is making us, nobody is telling us that. Is there any portal that we can go and check and say these are the required, the number of people that are benefiting from it, and this is how long they will be benefiting from it, and then this is what will happen to them, more of like the outcome, you know. Are we monitoring to see progress in them leaving the poverty line? But what I will tell you is the sad reality is we collect loans so that other people can leave the poverty zone, but we collect loans to make other people enter the poverty zone. So it's worrisome to every Nigerian. If I see you laughing today, I will just be wondering, where are you getting the energy from? Because, I mean, a lot of people are getting into the poverty zone. That will affect us. It will increase insecurity and increase the banditry we're seeing and other things we're seeing. So the reality is, it's not just about the system. It's about what brought the system and who formed part of the system. So more of like implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. That is what we need, not just the system.
All right. I mean, we, of course, do need this monitoring and evaluation. We hear that the ministers will soon have their first assessment, and we hope to see how far they've come and, you know, what improvements need to be made. But let's talk about how this makes the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu look. What does this tell you about the government? Now, one of the things that was really pushed very strongly during his campaign was that he had an eye, or he has an eye, for selecting the right people for the job. Has that now come into question? And, you know, how would you say that this is a reflection on his administration so far?
So far, so good. I think as someone that believes in process, I want to say we're still giving these people time to see what they can do. On the issue of having an eye for the best, you know, you can be the best and have your own thing. So Nigeria has taught us a lot of lessons. We've seen imam, we've seen pastors, we've seen professors, we've seen every kind of people messed up, right? So one thing I will say is, let's see what the assessment will look like. There are people that I really look forward to in the cabinet of Mr. President. But the thing is, with this kind of things that are happening, that means a lot of things is being undermined. I just want you to know that just yesterday, around the scandal we're talking about, a minister pointed a paper, that's the Minister of Interior, saying he has resigned from a company 5 years ago, but the company is being awarded to monitor and stuff like that. What is the track record of that company? What is the experience? Where are the reports of the tracking they have done? We can all see it in the public. And just so you know, this is a public sector that is meant to address in a public way, not in a private way, like a private sector. So the reality is, we're still looking at what they can do. We still believe Nigeria will be better, but I think we need to also step up and ask questions. But on issue of asking questions, I want you to know that a lot of agencies, ministries have not been responding to the Freedom of Information Law, which is a problem. And a lot of states have not domesticated the Freedom of Information Law. You can't really hold them accountable without those laws. You have to use the law to ask them questions, to hold them accountable. And if these tools are not there, it's challenging. So now one of the things we have always been doing is, like I said earlier, is to advocate for domestication in subnational government as well as the federal government to see how they can respond to this Freedom of Information Law with the required answers of the question we ask so that we can be able to hold them accountable. But I think it's a dent on the eyes of people on President Bola Tinubu's administration to really see on the question of we're going to fight corruption and where we have eye on good people, and the good people are already messing up this really early.
Yeah, well, actually, the timing is really, really shocking. Amongst other things that, of course, are still going on. There's still naira scarcity across the country. But I want you to go back to clarify your thoughts, the things that you started with, and talking about how this, affects the gender, women in governance, and, of course, young people in governance. Can you clarify exactly what your thoughts are, concerning that?
All right, so my thoughts are, after advocating, we've always said that we are more eligible, we have more capacity, we understand 21st century as young people, right? And another thing is we wanted our mothers, our sisters, our friends to be part of this so that it will not be a game of only men, so that they can also bring their capability, their capacity, their endurance, their mobility and everything so that Nigeria will move forward. Nigeria will be a developing nation. Our economy will boom to a standard we are looking forward to. But having women form part of the people that are a few of them form part of the corruption scandals and what have you is really making us feel really bad, because these are people that we expect will come in. I hope to see a female president. But with the things that are going on, what do you think I will be thinking? What do you think a man in Besu or in Obodoga will be thinking, that even the women that we think have empathy, have humanity, are holding the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs without humanity? So it's a Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs that does not have humanity. I mean, the first scandal, the first minister had scandal. This is the second minister, she had scandal. An agency within the ministry is having scandal. And all of them are women, That is the question. So I'm not generally saying women have issues. I'm just saying these few are causing more harm to the women than doing good to them. That's just what I was saying.
Okay, thank you for sharing your thoughts. Would you agree that maybe the standards are a little unfair for women? Because it does seem like whilst we are advocating for more women to be involved in politics, it seems that the stakes that we're putting for women are much higher. And I'll say this because, in response to what you've said that these women who are there need to prove that, to prove and convince people that we have more, women are able to undertake these responsibilities very well. So would you say that the stakes are unfair? Because we don't have conversations about men saying that men need to prove to the world that they can run political positions.
Yeah, to be honest, the state is unfair. With the number of people, with the number of women and men we have in the system, I don't think it's really been fair. I don't mind to see women in the entire space, right? Not because of anything, because I've been raised by my mother, and my mother is a single mother, and I know the capacity my mom have, the strong will she have for development and other people. So what am I trying to say? We expect to see more humanity. We expect to see more capacity from them. So having to say we're looking at how to remove the men that are not doing what they are meant to do and put in women that have capacity so that they have more humanity. For me, this is my own thought. They have more human interaction. They have that point of humanity in bringing people together, making the house live like a family, and doing what they are meant to do. So if we expect more from them, is because we want to see more of them. And if there are few of them and they are messing up, automatically the other people that we're trying to remove will think that, oh, you people think these people are better, but they are worse. And that's what we don't want to see in the country.
This conversation is subject to further conversation. I'm hoping that we can have you another time so we can talk more about this. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.